Okay, so in this video we're going to have a look at some ratios. Now we're going to have a look at this part one of this two-part series that I'm going to do on ratios. We're going to be looking at all the different types of sharing in a ratio and all the different sorts of problems that can arise when you're actually looking at sharing in a ratio. So this is going to be part one. Part two, we're going to have a look at some three-part ratios and combining ratios and all of the bits and bobs along the way, but we are going to just focus on sharing in a ratio in this one and all those different types of questions that can come along. So grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, we've got tons of questions to have a look at here. I'm going to get started with this one. Now I'm not going to do any more questions on these sort of just basic sharing in a ratio, but I thought it'd be worth obviously thinking about starting off with this particular question, although we're not going to practice any that are just exactly like this, but we're going to move on from this one quite sharpish after this first question. So it says Alice and James share £80 in the ratio 3:2, work out how much they each receive. Now first things first, whenever I'm looking at a ratio I always bring it away from the words, so rather than looking at these words here I'm going to have A and J as my Alice and James. I'm just going to bring that away from all the words there, and it says that they share it in the ratio 3:2, and obviously not forgetting when it comes to ratios that first name that's mentioned is correlated or relevant to that first number that's mentioned there. So when we obviously have a look at this, we've also got James, and James is going to be the 2. So we can pair those up and bring it all away from the words, and it says that they share £80 between them. Now when we're looking at the ratio here, that is relating to both these numbers here. So both these people are going to share £80. Now you can do this obviously just numerically, or you can actually draw a little picture. But essentially when it comes to a ratio, that we just need to think about how many parts that number is referring to. So obviously we've got £80 as our number, and that is referring to the total amount of money that they both share. And they both share, look, 3 and 2, and that makes 5 parts. There we go. So they've got 5 parts between them, and that equals £80. So when it comes to any sort of ratio question, we want to know what the value of one part is. So if we've got 5 parts that equal £80, we can get the value of one part by dividing by 5. So we get the value here of one part. There we go, and one part therefore is going to equal 80 divided by 5, which is £16. There we go. So one part of this money, of this amount that's being shared in this ratio, is worth £16. Now obviously we've got Alice that's getting 3 of those parts. So Alice is getting 3. So Alice is going to get 3 times the 16, which is £48. There we go. And James is getting 2 of them. And James's share then is 2 lots of 16, which equals £32. There we go. And you can always do a little quick check at the end there, because those two numbers should add together to make the original 80, and 48 plus 32 adds together to make 80. Now if you're not really the most fond of just doing it via the numbers, you can actually take a different approach to some of these. I won't do it very often because it does actually sort of just create a little bit more work for yourself, but if you don't like doing it as the numbers, you could have a think about what this actually looks like in terms of a picture. And I might talk about this a little bit, but if Alice is getting 3, if we imagine she's got 3 little piles of money there, and James has got 2, there we go. We know that £80 got to be split between those 5 piles, so we can do 80 divided by 5. It's a very similar process, gives us 16, and then you can just fill in each of those little piles of money with 16s. There we go. And then obviously just count them up there. So Alice is getting the 3 of them, and those 3 are worth 48. And James is getting the 2, and that's worth 32. So you could rewrite it as a ratio, 48 to 32. Obviously it's about money, so we should include the pound sign there. But there we go. Now a lot of these questions I'm going to focus on to start with, I am just going to be looking at money, but these questions can be to do with anything. It could be recipes in an ingredients in a recipe, sorry, or it could be something like, there's quite a lot of questions where it says they're sharing sweets or sharing that, something out. Whatever that may be, we're going to take the same approach, but I'm just going to look at money questions just to start with for the starting few. Right, let's have a look at our next question. Okay, so this question looks very similar. It says Tom and Amy share some money in the ratio 5:3, but this time it says Tom gets £70 more than Amy. Work out how much they each receive. So again, let's bring this away from the words. We've got T to A, and it's in the ratio 5:3. Now what it says is Tom gets £70 more than Amy. So Tom, who's this one here, is getting a little bit more. Now if we have a look in terms of the parts, look, Amy's getting 3 parts, Tom's getting 5, so Tom is getting an additional 2 parts to Amy. So those extra 2 parts that Tom's getting, it's saying that those plus 2 parts there are worth £70. And from there we can take exactly the same approach that we did on the last one. Okay, we can divide that by 2 to get our value of 1 part. Now again, you could think about this in terms of a picture. We could have Tom's 5 parts and we could draw 5 little circles, look, and Amy's 3. And then we can just identify in terms of the picture how many more he's getting. Well, he's getting these 2 extra here. So those 2 parts here are worth £70. And again, you can just take a little bit of a logical approach there. Dividing that by 2 tells you the value of each part, and then you can stick your 35 in each of these piles and start to work it out that way. But I'm just going to do it via the numbers. Look, we're just going to divide this by 2, and that tells us that 1 part, which is what we're looking for every time, equals £35. And then from there you can take exactly the same approach we can do for Tom. He's got 5 lots of that, so 5 times 35. There we are, and 5 times 35 is 175. So Tom's getting £175. And Amy, who is getting 3 of those, is going to get 3 lots of 35. There we go, and 3 times 35 is £105. And again, you can add those 2 together and to get their total. This one actually doesn't ask for their total, it says how much do they each receive. But if it did, if it said work out the total that they both get, you could actually add those together, look, and we've got 280 as the total. So this question doesn't ask for that, but just thinking about what we could be asked. So we've got Tom gets 175, Amy gets 105, and if it asks for it, we know that they both share £280 between them. Right, let's have a look at one more type of these questions then. Okay, so this question says Frank, Lewis and James share some money in the ratio 2:4:3. James gets 90, work how much Frank and Lewis receive. So again, we've got 3 in here, but we've got Frank, we've got Lewis and we've got James, and their ratio is 2:4:3. Now it's not saying that they all share 90, it's not saying that one gets £90 more than the other, it is saying specifically that James, who is on the right there, gets £90. So that is £90. Now what you can think, obviously that is 3 parts, that's the number above, so we could just say £90 equals 3 parts, and there we go, take the same approach. Or when it comes to a question like this where it actually gives you the answer, you could just think logically, well, what do we times by to get from 3 to 90? Hopefully you can spot there, that is times 30. Now that is just a logical approach to what we're going to do anyway, because obviously if we've got that £90 is 3 parts, to get the value of 1 part like we have on all the others, we're just going to divide by 3. And we'll get the value of 1 part being 30 quid. And that's what we've done as a logical approach anyway. It's just that we're actually writing it down now. So anyway, if we're going to times them all by 30, we can just do that straight from the ratio now. Up here, we could just say, all right, well, we just need to times all of these by 30. So times that by 30, that would give us 60 for Frank. And timesing this one in the middle by 30 as well. 4 times 30 is 120, and that will give us 120 for Lewis. There we go, and that's all that their values there. Obviously we can write that all down to the side. 2 times 30 is 60, 4 times 30 is 120, and 3 times the 30 is 90, but we already had that. There we go, so obviously we've answered how much they both got. Frank gets 60, Lewis gets 120, and again we could be asked how much they all share together, so you could do 60 plus 120 plus 90, and that would give us the total there, which is 270 between all 3 of them. So it just depends on what the question's asking, but there's just a couple of things to be thinking about. Obviously you just need to have a look at the words, allocate the amount of parts to the amount of number that you're given, whether that be all of them, whether it be one of them, or whether it be a difference between them. Okay, so there's a couple of questions for you to have a go at, and here they are. Okay, so there's 2 questions here. One on the left there where you've got Jess gets £30 more, so you've got that difference between them, and one on the right here where it tells us that Claire receives a certain amount, so it tells you actually which one of those numbers it actually refers to. So have a go at these 2 questions, pause the video there, and we'll go over the answers in a sec. Okay, so this first one, we've got Cameron and we've got Jess, and they're sharing some money in the ratio 2:7. Now it says Jess gets £30 more. While looking at that, look, Jess gets 5 extra parts, so those plus 5 parts equals 30 quid. There we go. So we can divide that by 5 and we get 1 part, and 1 part is going to equal 6, so each part is worth 6 quid. So if we're going to times them both out, which we can do, and again I sometimes just like to sort of write this underneath, so let's just bring that to the side. Look, I tend just to like to write it underneath like this, so you don't have to obviously, but I like just to do this to the side and write times by 6, and we get 12, and obviously just writing times by 6 here. There we go, and then obviously 7 times 6 is 42, there we go. Right, there we go, so there's our first answer for that one, 12 and 42, and again you could add those both together. It says how much does Cameron get, so our answer there is 12, but obviously it could have asked how much Jess got or how much they both got, but obviously there you can see the difference between them is 30, so you know you're correct at that point. On to the next one, we've got Harry, Claire and Emily, and they share in the ratio 6 to 4 to 1. Now it says Claire receives 160. So Claire is obviously related to the 4 here, so she gets 160, and that is equal to 4 parts. So we can do some working out to the side. We could say 4 parts equals 160, and then obviously dividing that by 4 to get the value of 1 part. So we get that 1 part is equal to, and 160 divided by 4 is 40, so 1 part is equal to 40. Which means that all the numbers in that ratio there have all been multiplied by 40. So we can just times both of these by 40 here. 1 times 40 gives us 40, and times in this one by 40. And 6 times 40 gives us 240. There we go, so 240. And what does it say? How much does Harry and Emily receive? Well, Harry receives 240 and Emily receives 40. And again, obviously, if it asked how much they received together or combined, you could add them all up. Just depends on what the question's asking there. But there we go, that's our answers there for sharing in a ratio. Now let's have a look at something a little different, but not actually any harder here, just something a little different. Okay, so this is following on from what we've just done. It's basically the same as what we've just done. It's just a few more words and sort of all wrapped up in a problem that looks more complicated than it actually is. It says Tom and Adam have a total of 240 stamps. The ratio of the number of Tom's stamps to the number of Adam's stamps is 3 to 7. Then it says Tom buys some stamps from Adam, and then they have a new ratio. Tom to Adam is now 3 to 5. How many stamps does Tom buy from Adam? Now there's no extra stamps getting added in at any point. We're always having 240. If extra stamps were being added in, this problem does get a lot more complicated, but this type of problem here, look, there's only 240 and they're just sort of interchanging some between them. So if we have our first scenario, look, scenario number 1, we've got 240 stamps and we've got Tom to Adam in the ratio 3 to 7. Now obviously that's 240 stamps shared between them, so the total amount of parts there is 10, so we've got 10 parts equaling 240 stamps. So if we divide that by 10, we get 1 part equals 24 stamps. So if we actually multiply both these numbers, look, Tom and Adam, Tom gets 3 times the 24 and Adam has 7 times the 24. So if we work both of those out, 3 times 24 is 72 and Adam has 7 times the 24, which comes out as 168. There we go. So that's how many stamps they start with, but we've now got scenario number 2, or the second part of this scenario, where Tom and Adam now have stamps in a different ratio. So now it's in the ratio 3 to 5. So now we know it's in the ratio 3 to 5, we can go about splitting these 240 stamps up between them. So we've got 3 to 5, and that is a total of 8 parts. So we've got 8 parts that now equal 240 again. So again, we can divide that by 8, and 240 divided by 8 gives us a total of 30. So this time, 1 part in this ratio is equal to 30 stamps. So if we have a look, I'm just going to do this in a different colour. We've now got Tom, who's getting the 3 parts, gets 3 times 30, which is going to equal 90. And Adam is going to have 5 of them. So Adam gets 5 times 30, and he gets 150. Right, there we go. So obviously we're looking at, let's have a look at what the question said again. How many stamps does Tom buy from Adam? Well, Tom started with 72, now he has 90. So we can obviously work out the difference there. If we want to show our working out, we can do the 90 stamps that he now has, take away the 72 that he started with, and that leaves us with a total of 18 stamps that he must have bought there. So 18 stamps would be our final answer. And obviously we could have taken that from Adam as well. We could obviously look at the fact that Adam, who's here, started with 168 and then dropped down to 150, which is a loss of 18 stamps as well. So you could look at that in both different ways, but there we go, there's a difference of 18. So I've got one question on this for you to have a go at, and here it is. Okay, so we've got a very similar question here, so pause the video there, have a go, see what you get, and we'll go over the answer in a sec. Right, so Harry and Gary have a total of 300 stickers. The ratio of the number of stickers Harry has to the ratio of the number of stickers that Gary has is in the ratio 7:3. So we've got Harry and Gary, and that is in the ratio 7:3. Now again, that's 10 parts. So we've got that 10 parts is equal to 300. So dividing that by 10, 1 part is equal to 30. So if we times those both out, 7 times 30 gives us 210, and 3 times 30 gives us 90. There we go, so Harry to Gary is currently at 210 to 90, and that was the first option. Then on the second option, once they've actually exchanged some, we've got Harry to Gary is now in the ratio 8:7. Okay, so that is now a total. 8 plus 7 is 15. So now we have a total of 15 equaling those 300. So if we divide by 15, we get 1 part. This time is going to be equal to 20. And if we share that out, Harry to Gary, 8 times 20 gives us 160, and 7 times 20 gives us 140. So there we go, let's have a look. How many stickers does Harry give to Gary? Well, Harry goes from 210 to 160. So if we actually look at the difference between them, and we can write that down, 210, that's not 210. There we go, 210, take away the 160, is 50. There we go, so we have a difference of 50 there. So he must have given 50 stamps away. Right, there we go. So there's just a little idea of a little problem. It looks more complicated than it is, but actually it's just sharing in a ratio. Now we're going to have a look at something slightly different with these ratios. Okay, so again, there's nothing more complicated in this question. It's just there's a little bit of different wording going on. So it says Maria, Dylan and Kate share £3,000. The ratio of the amount that Maria gets to the amount that Dylan gets is in the ratio 5:4. And Kate gets 1.5 times the amount that Dylan gets. Work out the amount of money that Dylan gets. So we want to have a look. How are we actually going to create this ratio? Because at the moment we've got Maria, we've got Dylan and we've got Kate. But it only tells us the ratio. And that's, so let's just highlight that. Dylan and Maria, or Maria and Dylan, 5:4. So we've got 5:4 for Maria and Dylan, but we don't know how much Kate gets in terms of parts of the ratio. But it does then say Kate gets 1.5 times the amount that Dylan gets. So Dylan gets 4 parts. So if we times that by 1.5, that actually gives us a value of 6. So Kate is getting 6 parts. Remembering multiplying by 1.5, if you don't have a calculator, just adds an extra half on. Half of 4 is 2, add it on gives us 6. So now that we've multiplied that by 1.5, the rest of the question is nice and easy. Because all we're going to do now is split that £3,000 in the question in the ratio 5:4 to 6. So if I get rid of this little bit of working out, this times 1.5, let's have a look. In total, that ratio adds up to 15 parts. And now we know that those 15 parts equal the £3,000. So we can find the value of 1 part again by dividing by 15. And 3,000 divided by 15 gives us a value of 200. There we go. So they all get 200. So we can go about timesing them all by 200. We're actually only concerned about Dylan in this particular question. And Dylan gets these 4 parts here. So we can just answer that straight away. Dylan's 4 parts, each one of them's 200 quid. So 4 times 200 gives us £800 for Dylan. There we go, and there is our final answer. And again, you could go about obviously finding out the amount that they all get. We could do Maria times 200, which is 1,000, and Kate's times 200, which is 1,200. And you could even add them all together then and show that there's £3,000 there. But that's how we'd approach a slightly different question here. We've got to think about creating the ratio slightly ourselves. Going to have a look at one more of these before you have a go. Okay, so this one's slightly more complicated because as you can see at the top, look, we've got £360 shared between Abby, Ben, Chloe and Dinesh. So there's 4 people in this one. So let's have a look. It says the ratio that Abby gets to the amount Ben gets is 2:7. So we've got Abby, we've got Ben, we've got Chloe and Dinesh. And it says Abby to Ben is in the ratio 2:7. And it says Chloe and Dinesh each get 1.5 times the amount that Abby gets. So both of these people here are both getting the same amount. They're both getting times 1.5 the amount that Abby gets. And 2 times 1.5 is nice and easy for us to work out. Half of 2 is 1, added on gives us 3 for both of them. And there we go. And then all we've got to do is split it in a ratio just in the same way that we have done before. The total of all those parts, if I do this below, if we add them all together, we get 15. So we've got 15 parts equaling £360. And then again, we can divide that by 15, and 360 divided by 15 gives us £24. So we've got that 1 part equals £24. There we go. And it says work out the amount of money that Ben gets. Well, Ben gets 7 of the parts. So if Ben's going to get 7 of them, Ben gets 7 lots of the 24 quid, which is going to be in each pile. So 7 times 24 gives us a final answer of £168. And there we go, and there's our final answer there. And again, we could work out how much they all get. Abby gets 2 of them, so 2 lots of 24 is 48. And then Chloe and Dinesh both get 3 parts, and 3 times 24 is 72. So we could do that, and then again, you could add them all up and check that they equal 360. But again, we're going to try and minimise the amount of working out we do here, so just straight away getting the amount that Ben gets. Okay, so here's a couple for you to have a go at, similar questions to these. Okay, so there's 2 questions here, so have a go at these 2, pause the video there, and we'll go over the answers in a sec. Okay, so you probably noticed we've got the same names in these as well. I've just changed the numbers for you so you could have a go. So Maria, Dylan and Kate share £336, and it says the amount that Maria and Dylan get is in the ratio 5 to 6. So we've got Maria, Dylan and Kate, and we've got 5 to 6 at the moment. Now it says that obviously Kate gets 1.5 times the amount that Dylan gets, so Dylan gets 6 parts, half of that is 3, add it on is 9, and there is the total ratio then for all 3 of them. So if we add these all together, that adds up to 20 parts. So we've got 20 parts is equal to 6, let's have a look, 336. Now hopefully this hasn't thrown you here, because obviously that's not going to give us a whole number when we divide by 20. So if we divide by 20, divide the value of 1 part, 336 divided by 20 gives us, let's have a look, £16.80. So we've got 16.8. I'm going to add the 0 on there because it is money, so that's £16.80. So do watch out for that. Hopefully that didn't throw you, the fact that there's a decimal in that one, but there we go, a good one to be able to make sure that you've seen, because there can obviously be decimals, it is money. So that would make sense there with £16.80. So let's have a look. The question says work out the amount of money that Dylan gets. So Dylan gets 6 of the parts. So if we work out how much he's going to get 6 lots of £16.80. And let's see what 6 times £16.80 is. Times that by 6, I'm doing that on the calculator, and we get £100 and 80p. There we go, £100 and 80p. And there we go, there's our final answer for that one. Again, hopefully that didn't throw you there with the decimals. If it did, obviously, you can carry on now if you did actually stop there and you're a little bit worried about that one. Right, so we've got £420 is shared between Abby, Ben, Chloe and Dinesh. So we've got A to B to C to D. And we've got the ratio that Abby to Ben is 4 to 5. There we go, so 4 to 5. And C and D, these 2 people are getting 1.5 times the amount that Abby gets. So half of Abby's is 2, add that on is 6. So we've got 4, 5, 6 and 6. And if we add those all together, 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 6, that gives us a total of 21. So we've got 21 parts there, which is equal to £420. And if we divide that by 21, we're going to get 420 divided by 21, which gives us £20 for each part. There we go, so £20. So it says work out the amount of money that Ben gets. Ben gets 5 of them. So Ben's going to get 5 of those 20. So just make sure you're working out for this. 5 times 20 gives us a total of £100. There we go, for Ben's amount. And let's just highlight that off. Right, there we go. So that is just something slightly different in terms of actually creating the ratio itself from the information. But now we're going to have a look at something else to finish off on this topic. Okay, so we've got something slightly different here. It says a shop sells small chocolate bars and large chocolate bars. The small chocolate bars are sold in packs of 4 and the large chocolate bars are sold in packs of 9. The packs of small bars are sold one day to the packs of large bars sold are in the ratio 5 to 2. Let's just highlight some of the information here. We've got small, packs of 4, large, packs of 9, and then we've got small to large in the ratio 5 to 2. And then it gives us this next bit of information. It says a total of 95 chocolate bars were sold. Work out the number of small chocolate bars that are sold. So at the moment, what we've got a ratio here about the amount of packs of bars sold, and we've got the information down the bottom about the amount of bars sold. So unfortunately, we can't just split that ratio 95 there in the ratio 5 to 2. We can't just do 95 divided by 7 because that ratio there is not about the amount of chocolate bars, it's about the amount of packs that were sold. So all we want to do is turn this ratio here into an amount of, what's that one there? Into amount of actual chocolate bars. So if we actually go about doing that, 5 to 2, we've got 4 in each of the small chocolate bar packs. So if we times that one by 4, that tells us how many chocolate bars are in there. So that would be 20. And in the large one, we've got packs of 9, and we've got the ratio of 2 of those. So if we times that by 9, and that gives us 18 chocolate bars. There we go. So in terms of actual chocolate bars, that ratio there is 20 chocolate bars to 18 chocolate bars. So that's the ratio we're actually looking at. We've got small to large, and it's now 20 to 18. Again, if it told us down here the amount of packs that were sold, we wouldn't actually need to do that, but because the information there says the amount of chocolate bars that were sold, we just need to change that ratio into being an actual amount of chocolate bars there, which we've done. We've changed our amount of packs into chocolate bars just by timesing that one by 4 and timesing that one by 9 for the amount of chocolate bars that are in each pack. So if we have a look now, our total for this ratio, look, adds up to 38. So we've got 38 parts equaling 95. Now that's not very nice, because immediately in my head I'm thinking, hold on, 95 does not divide by 38. If that's 38 parts equaling 95, that is not going to fit in. But let's go with it, let's see what happens. So we've got, let's just write this to the side, we've got 38 parts equals 95 chocolate bars. So we'll divide that by 38, so we'll get 1 part. And let's just see what we get. We get 1 part equals, so 95 divided by 38 gives us a value of 2.5. And that's not very nice at all, because actually we're looking at that and thinking, hold on, we can't have 2.5 chocolate bars in each part. But let's not forget there's going to be 20 parts and there's going to be 18. So let's see what happens when we multiply these out. So if we do 20, I'm going to do this in a different colour again. Let's mix this up a little bit. There we go. So we've got 20 times by the 2.5 for the small ones. Let's just label that as small. And we'll label our large one as well. So 20 times 2.5 gives us 50. There we go, so it's gone back into a nice whole number. And also for the other one, we've got 18 times 2.5. There we go, and 18 times 2.5 gives us 45. There we go, and as you can see, they both add up to 95, don't they? And they're nice whole numbers now. Now the question obviously didn't ask us to work them both out. It said work out the number of small chocolate bars. So our number of small chocolate bars is right there, 50. So our final answer, there we are, is 50. Right, there we go. So that's obviously thinking about this in a slightly different way. We had to change the ratio again, because in this question they gave us a ratio of the amount of packs of bars sold, and we actually wanted a ratio of the actual amount of chocolate bars, not the amount of packs sold. So we had to turn that into a different ratio there to represent the actual amount of chocolate bars. And then it was just splitting it up as normal, okay? But we didn't get a very nice number there with the 2.5 either. But there we go. That's a different kind of question there, and here is one for you to have a go to finish off this topic here. Okay, so here is your last question. As you can probably already see though, there are 3 in this one, so obviously don't treat this in a different way to the last one. It's just that there's 3 in this ratio rather than 2, but you're going to treat this in exactly the same way. So have a read through, have a look at that ratio that you're going to need to change, have a think about how you're going to approach this, but pause the video there, have a go, and we'll go over the answer in a sec. Okay, so this says a shop sells black pens, red pens and green pens, and it says that there are 2 pens in each of the black packs, so 2 pens in the black packs, 5 pens in the red pens in each pack of red pens, 6 pens in each pack of green pens, and then it gives us a ratio, okay, but it gives us a ratio here. Let's have a look. The number of packs sold to the number of packs of red pens sold to the number of packs of green pens sold. Right, there we go, is 7 to 3 to 4. And then it gives us the information, look, it says a total of 212 pens were sold. So obviously at the moment, this ratio here is in terms of the amount of packs, and the information here is the amount of pens. So we want to change this ratio here, so we've got the actual amount of pens there. So that first one is about the black pens, there's 2 in each pack, so we'll times that by 2, and that's 14 pens now. We've got the one in the middle there, which is about, let's just have a look, the red pens, and there are 5 red pens in each pack, so we're going to times that by 5, so that's 15 pens. And the last one there, which is about the green pens, and again there are 6 green pens in each pack, so that becomes 24 pens. So there's our ratio, 14 to 15 to 24, and that is now a ratio of the amount of pens. So if we add those all up, let's have a look how many parts we've got. We've got 14 plus 15 plus 24. and that gives us a total of 53 parts. So we've got 53 parts there, and it says that that is equal to 212 pens. There we go, so 53 parts is equal to 212. So from there we can work out the value of 1 part, just like we have done on every question, by dividing by 53. And we get 1 part equals 212 divided by 53, and that is going to be equal to 4. There we go, so that is 4 pens. There we go, so 1 part is equal to 4 pens. And again, you could do that without a calculator as well. It doesn't look very nice, but 53 goes into 212. You can do 53, 106, 159, and then when you add another 53 there, you get 212. So it does fit in nicely there with the 4 times. Right, so we've got our amount of pens in each part there. It's 4 in each part. So just have a look back at the question. It says work out the number of green pens sold. Well, the number of green pens sold is which number in the ratio. Look, this is the first one where I've not actually labelled it. We've got black first, then red, then green. So green is the 24 over here. So we've got 24 lots of the 4 pens. There you go. And 24 times 4 gives us a total of 96. To finish off our question, let's highlight that off. So 96 pens in our final part of that ratio. Now there are slightly different ways of looking at this question. This is just the way that I've sort of approached it. I just think it's the easiest way to sort of have a look at it and actually figure this out. But there are different ways of doing this. So if you find your own way of having a go at it, you can certainly actually apply your own method, as long as you're getting 96 as your final answer there. But that is the end of some of our questions where we're looking at sharing ratios. The next video in this series, which I will obviously be linking in the description, is going to be having a look at 3-part ratios and ratios where we're combining them and looking at ratios as fractions and some of the slightly trickier questions. But there we go, that's the end of that. Hopefully you found that useful and helpful. If it was, please like, please comment, please subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.